to go ahead and get started. And we're going to start by having our student and alumni panelists introduce themselves. So we're going to go left to right here. So if you would just start by introducing yourselves and tell us the program of study here at PVCC that you are enrolled in or were enrolled in, and where you did your internship.
All right, so my name is Douglas A. Fargo. I attended here at PVCC from 2013 to 2015, and I just graduated in May. I graduated actually with 2 degrees in that 6 semesters, so Associate of Applied Science and Management and Associate of Science and Business Administration. And I interned with the local chapter of the American Red Cross.
Hi, my name is Linda Anderi. My major is accounting. I'm in my final quarter. And I did my internship at the Arc of the Piedmont in Charlottesville.
My name is Tyler Davis. I'm doing a liberal arts degree, and I currently intern at the Rutherford Institute and the Thomas Jefferson Center for the Protection of Free Expression.
And I am Mark Potter. Oh, it's weird hearing my voice. I'm an engineering student, and I interned at NASA Langley in Hampton, Virginia.
My name is Matt Shiflett, working on my Associates in Applied Science and Information Technology, and I actually interned here at Piedmont.
My name's Alex Hollis. I was a culinary major, graduated this past May, and am now a business major. I did my internship at Albemarle Baking Company, and I am still currently working there.
So we have a nice mix here of students that have pursued 2-year degrees and that are pursuing 4-year degrees and planning to transfer. And so my first question is, tell us a little bit about a day in the life of your internship.
You know, the American Red Cross is 94% volunteer, so they're always looking for someone to fill into places. My primary supervisor was the Disaster Services Program Manager, and so most of my pre-up training and the things that I did every day centered around disaster services. Some days I was doing telephone surveys, for those that had received disaster services to get some feedback so that we can improve the program. I may be at preparedness briefings within the community. I've been to 10 or 11 of the different counties around here, and I'll be checking their equipment in anticipation of a disaster that would come up. And so I was pretty much all over the place, whether it was in the office on the computer or out on the road with people or equipment.
Sounds great. And the American Red Cross is currently seeking an intern. So if you're interested in what you hear about the American Red Cross, you can talk to Mr. Fargo after the program,
Doug.
Or come see me. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi, the Arc of the Piedmont is a nonprofit that works with mentally and physically challenged adults. They have group homes and activity centers in several counties, as well as in Charlottesville. And I actually was involved with the accounting manager in keeping the books. I did accounts receivable, accounts payable, ran reports, did year-end closing. I happened to be there over the summer when they did their fiscal year-end closing, filing and reporting taxes, payment of taxes. And in some cases, they are actually responsible for their client accounts. And so for those individuals, we had to keep the accounting information up to date on the clients, because that has to be reported to the federal government, how the money's being spent, how it's coming in, and that sort of thing. So it was a full-service bookkeeping, which is what I am really interested in. There are other areas within the ARC that always need help. Nursing care for nursing students, things like that.
And the Arc of the Piedmont is another organization in town that on a regular basis from semester to semester hosts accounting interns. Okay.
The Rutherford Institute and the Thomas Jefferson Center are both civil liberties groups, so they focus on law-related issues. The Rutherford Institute, when somebody has a problem, because we offer free legal help to people who don't have the ability to pay. So when they call into the Rutherford Institute, they're going to talk to an intern first, who's going to write up the report about what's going on. A lot of the time they'll be upset, a lot of provocative issues, their rights have been violated, so you have to really be really detailed and calm when you're speaking to them to type up a really good intake report that then goes to the attorneys. Other things that you might do would be a research report for the president of the Rutherford Institute about some public policy or law-related issue that he's working on. For example, in North Dakota, they've now armed drones to help law enforcement, which is kind of a scary prospect to have a flying helicopter thing with weapons that can shoot you or tase you. Right. So what we're doing now, what an intern does is they'll do research and write a policy paper, and then for the president, who will then go advocate maybe on behalf of at the state legislator or whatever other partner group they have. I'm in charge of the public service announcement project that's educating the public about civil liberties violations. So that's pretty much a day at the Rutherford Institute.
Great, thank you.
Where do I start? I spent a lot of my time at NASA. Well, I got up at 8 and would go to my little office that they gave me. And then I spent most of my time exploring because we were allowed to sort of go on grounds and go wherever we wanted. So I went to different labs, and I spent some time in the materials composites lab, and we built carbon fiber nanotubes and produced those things and made panels out of them. I also worked on some of those drones. They weren't armed or anything like that, but we also, what do? We made a microsatellite that's probably going to go into orbit soon, we hope. Or they hope, I guess. I'm not on that team anymore because I'm here. What else did I do? So I did a few things I'm not supposed to tell anyone about, so those were exciting. But there's some hoverboard stuff that's pretty cool. Yeah. So it was pretty much my day. It was just going around and trying to get into as much stuff as I could without getting into trouble. So, yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, so while I interned here at Piedmont, I worked directly under the network manager, Mr. Tom Ruggieri, and my day-to-day tasking involved either mapping out the network here, isolating which pieces of equipment needed to be upgraded or replaced, trying to work on improvements to efficiency to make your wireless network here in the Bullock Center better, just generic network tasks like that, backing up configurations so that in the case of power outages, we wouldn't have a total loss of service, things of that nature. So,
Sounds great. Thank you.
Well, a day in the life of a baker. I would get up in the morning and go in, start prepping things for the day. First thing in the morning, I'd have to fill the case with all the different pastries. It's really physical and hands-on, and everything's kind of specific and made in a way that is very specific. I learned that different measurements, when you're measuring things out for pastries or whatever you're making, it's very important to go by grams as a weight measurement as opposed to anything else, because that can make your product more consistent. And then for the rest of the day, once the case was filled, just making sure that was restocked throughout the rest of the day with other cakes, and then just prepping things for the next few days. I'd have to make sure that there were things prepped for the rest of the week. For example, we'd make 3 things of cookies ahead of time just to make sure that we had 3 trays of cookies that we can use throughout the rest of the week, and those would be frozen, and we could just bake those off when we needed them, and then setting things up for the next day.
And Alex, did you have to be there super early in the morning? I think of bakers as waking up at 4 a.m. and...
Yeah, so Albemarle Baking Company is not open 24/7, but for the bakers, we are working around the clock. So it's kind of a 24/7 job. There's 3 different shifts for the bakers that do the bread. and they kind of switch around their hours a little bit sometimes. I was on the pastry side, thank goodness, so I didn't have to wake up at 2 in the morning to go to work. But I did start working. I did change my hours around for Saturdays, and I have to get up at 4 in the morning now to get up for Saturdays and get everything prepped and ready for the rest of the day. So yeah, it's early hours, definitely, because you want to make sure that you have enough product when people come in and it's prepped and ready for them to just go and buy it. So yeah, it's some crazy hours.
Yeah, and you just adjust.
Yes, yeah, it takes a little while to adjust to that.
Yes. Okay, great. So what do you see as the benefits? What benefits did you receive from doing internships? Whether it be college credit or building your resume, that kind of thing.
All of those.
All of those.
I mean, obviously, the internship program being a class through a PVCC, depending on whether you're doing 2, 3, or 4 credit and the timing, you get college credit for that. But it's so much more and so much bigger than that. I think the biggest or most important thing for me anyway is networking. So you pick a program of study because that's what you want to go into or what is going to preclude what you want to do in your 4-year school. And so either one of those, you pick your internship for the same reason. You pick an internship that is going to provide you that opportunity. I'm interested in emergency services at several different levels. And so you're trying to pick a place that you can gain that level of experience, but also you can find out about people and the organization and maybe be able to use that as a stepping stone into that next job.
Great.
I'm re-entering the workforce in a new career, and I pretty much knew I wanted to do bookkeeping. I had done some accounts payable, some accounts receivable, but I had never done a full service end-to-end type. And the internship gave me the opportunity to determine if that's truly what I wanted to do. It exposed me to payroll. It exposed me to working with the taxes, running some of the reports that the president and vice president needed, and answering ad hoc questions, finding the data, and making sure everything was balanced. So it not only gave me the exposure to reinforce that I really did want to go into that line of work, but it also gave me that experience to add to my resume,
Right.
As well as earning the credit for doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
My internships have definitely been helpful come transfer application time. Right now I have 2 applications out, and so I have a recommendation for whatever I need, which is really good to know. And for other internship application processes, if I need a recommendation, I can get other internships. And it's also definitely helped me figure out that law is something that I definitely want to go into. So, and good networking, he's absolutely right, great networking. Rutherford Institute actually got me into the TJ Center, which is normally, for the most part, for UVA law students. So as a community college student, that's a really big deal to be able to intern there.
And I think that Tyler helped to pave the way for PVCC students to be there. We've since received a request for more PVCC interns, and that's something that you'll see on our internship site logo board there. They are looking for more interns.
Excellent. So I did my internship mostly because I wanted to see what engineering actually was, because we sit in class all day and do equations and never actually get to do much work. So that's one of the reasons I went to NASA to do that, an internship. But it was also to be more competitive because I'm changing careers as well, and I don't get guaranteed admissions into whatever college I transfer to. So having NASA on my transcript helps make things a little bit easier for me, even if my GPA is not the best in the world, which is, happens. So for being competitive and to actually get some hands-on experience was really nice.
And can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Mark? So when did you start thinking about aerospace engineering?
So that's an incredibly long story. I'll shorten it. So when I was like a little kid, I wanted to be an aerospace, or I wanted to be a theoretical propulsion engineer. But through some interesting people that I met, or it's a long story, but essentially I ended up going into cooking. I went to go do a practical job because everyone was like, go do something practical. And then when I was 27, I was like, I want to go build spaceships. And I thought that was crazy. But turns out you can build spaceships. So that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I first met you, one of the things that impressed me is how you had this dream and you were going for it. I mean,
I put it on hold for a little while.
Right. But you
yes,
came back and you have really sunk your teeth into it, and you're a leader here in our engineering program, and you were at NASA this summer.
Well, it was fun.
What's that?
Thank you. Yeah,
So
excellent.
it's great. I think you're a great example.
Thank you. Oh, here you go.
So the two biggest advantages that I got from interning here were, first and foremost, the personal networking, meeting everyone and having advocates on my side when I applied for a full-time position. Also, being able to learn the ins and outs of the network here on campus and all of its deficiencies allowed me to have more or less insider knowledge when it came time for the interview process. I was able to address specific instances that are relevant to this campus and their architecture and use that in my interview process. So I think that helped me stand out above the other candidates, which is why I'm now the full-time network analyst here at Piedmont. So.
Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, benefits of working at a bakery for my internship. For me, it's been a lot more like hands-on than anything else. I mean, yes, it's going to look good on my resume, but for the most part, I'm learning practical things that I'm going to be applying to my future business. I mean, I want to own my own business at some point, so being able to be hands-on and learn like the different things that we have to do around the bakery, learning the different books, learning inventory, and all these different things that need to get done for the bakery. It's kind of important.
And you transitioned from an intern?
Yes, I transitioned from an intern to an employee. I'm not working there full time. I'm still, full time here at school. So,
right.
I work there part time on the weekends. They've been really flexible with like hours and stuff like that. So it's been really great.
Yeah, that's a great example of how you can turn an internship into a job. Yeah. Okay, great. So. Let me ask you, I know this is one of the biggest questions that I get from students is how do I get an internship? So how did you get your internship? How did you learn about it? How did you follow up? How did you connect? How did that process go for you?
I can't speak for everybody else, but certainly I think you got to go get it. In my case, I had already started to do some training on my own, whether it was with the Community Emergency Response Team, which is a CERT team for the county I live in, Greene County, or training with the Virginia Baptist Mission Board as a member of the Mass Feeding Unit. Both of those kinds of organizations and support organizations are associated with disaster relief, everything from a house fire all the way up to a Katrina hurricane situation. And so I was talking with actually the counselors over at the Virginia Employment Commission, and in conjunction with them and Linda Smythurst, who was the adult academic advisor, if I get the title right, and the counselor that was in the VECC, not Linda, said, well, if you're interested in that, did you know that the Red Cross provides disaster assistance? And I went, I do now. And so it was actually 3 or 4 places besides the Red Cross that I went in, and I physically asked, there's a program at PVCC of internship, this is how it's laid out, this is what I want to do, do you have a need? And they said, we got, how many slots you want to help us with, and so that's kind of get started, is you have to go out and seek out that organization, whether they've already been affiliated with PVCC or not.
Right. Yeah, really, you can design your own internship. So if you have a place in mind that you want to intern, we can give you and advise you on how to make that connection and how to get in there. Thanks, Doug.
I had also worked with Linda Smithhurst and some of the VEC staff, trying to determine what I wanted to do going forward before I actually started coming to PVCC. And so when I started thinking about an internship, I wanted to reinforce that. I didn't want to go into a large corporation, which some people may find very beneficial. I was looking more towards a smaller, home-based, small business or nonprofit. And I knew I wanted to do full-service bookkeeping. I tried using the JobNet services, but couldn't find what I wanted, and so I contacted the Career Services Department and asked where people had done accounting internships previously. And I talked to Maria. I also talked with Linda Hitt. And then it was up to me to go out and find it. And that's a big part of it, is determining what you want and going out there and getting it. Talk to people, network, and try to focus on what it is you want to do going forward and match your internship to that.
Yeah, sounds great. And we have a handout on the table over here that says how to get an internship, that actually provides scripts for you. If you're going to call an internship site and you're going to ask them for an internship, it tells you what to say. Or if you're going to email them, it tells you how to write that email and what to put in that email. It tells you how to interview and prepare for the interview. So we give you the support to be able to go out there and make these connections. And it's the skills that you're going to be learning are super important for you as you pursue your career and go out and are seeking jobs. You're going to use the exact same skills. And it's just like with anything. If you're learning to draw, you have to practice, right? So this is getting an internship, seeking an internship is great practice so you can hone these job search skills.
Yeah, I definitely sent a lot of emails. It was a really long, frustrating process to try and knock on as many doors as possible. And a couple opened up, and I put together a really good cover letter, a really good resume, and then showed a lot of enthusiasm, because I think as community college students, we compete around here with UVA students, and that's not easy. So you have to stand out in some way, and so I think that cover letter, resume, and definitely showing enthusiasm is really, really important.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
So my experience was much easier. I just applied, which wasn't completely true. A lot of times, especially in like STEM fields, like internships like NASA, people don't apply to them. And that was one of the things the director of the program was talking about, is that she thought that like just every community college student was going to apply to go work at NASA, and there was just like a pool of like 100 or 200 applicants, which was crazy. So just applying, and obviously I had to like write, like I had to get a letter of recommendation and like go through the whole application process, and it was tedious, but just applying is like the first step, because if you don't apply, you're obviously not going to get that. I'm sure you've heard that before. But yeah,
So, and Mark, you applied directly to NASA, or did you go through the Commonwealth STEM internship program?
So the STEM Takes Flight.
STEM Takes Flight.
Because VCCS, the Virginia Community College System, is like trying to get most of the community colleges involved in the companies in Virginia, because Virginia has like one of the highest concentrations of aerospace businesses in the continent, or in the United States. So yeah, I can't remember the name of the website.
Right. It's the website. If you are in science, technology, engineering, or math, and technology includes computer science and IT as well, you can go to, and I recommend that you go to the CSIIP.com website. That's the Commonwealth STEM Industry Program. I'm missing an I. I don't know where that comes from.
There's so many acronyms.
They also have a STEM Takes Flight program for community college students. So what you'll find when you arrive there is that you can put in an application. It's a rolling application process. So you can apply at any time of year. You will be considered for over 150 internships. or let's say there's 150 companies that have internships listed on that site. So obviously, you'll only be considered for those that have your discipline or your area of interest. But it's a way to put in an application to multiple internships at once. And you can go on there. It's a very impressive list of internship sites around the state of Virginia, and you'll be applying for more than one at a time, which is great. So thank you.
And I have to apologize to my other panelists. Mine was actually even easier than theirs. I went between the advising staff and my professors here on campus, and we built an internship program here on campus.
Yes.
So working between admissions and advising and Professor Ferrero, who teaches networking, and we built a networking internship here where I worked between him and Tom, and was able to just build an internship here on campus. So.
And that brings up 2 points that I want to make, which is great. So we do have students that are interning here on campus. We like that. We like if you can work here and if you can intern here, because we know that it's going to be easier usually for you to balance the demands of everything that you have on your plate, you know, go into class and interning and all of that. So that's a great thing if you can do that. If you can't do that here, you may be working for an employer already, and you can utilize that employer as an internship site as long as they're willing to supervise you on your learning objectives. You need to have at least 2 new learning objectives, so that you have to have 2 new kind of tasks or projects that you're working on at that job so that you can extend your learning. I have students right now that are interning at like rec club doing an IT internship, right? So you would never think initially, you know, I'm going to get IT experience at a rec center, but you can do that. So, and I also have a student who's really interested in getting a promotion at the current position. And so this internship is an opportunity for him to take on new roles at work that will hopefully allow him to advance in the current job. So it's a great opportunity to get a foot in the door to use either PVCC or your current job.
So my application process was also very easy. I ended up, it took a while and it was kind of tedious just because I know a lot of the students in the culinary program really wanted to get started on their internship like right off the bat. Unfortunately, it was our last semester that we were all supposed to do the internship, so we kind of wanted to get it, because we have to do 225 hours, which seems like a lot of hours. It really didn't take me that long. I got finished before the end of the semester, just working, I think it was like 24 hours a week or something, which wasn't that bad. And I ended up talking to the culinary advisor and really coordinating with him through that, and then I think he coordinated with Maria a little bit on that, and they ended up talking to the bakery to get me kind of an interview, and I went in for an interview and applied and really hit it off with the owner, so it worked out really well. And working for a local business, their staff is a lot smaller than it would be for a corporation. So it was a little harder for me to get in a certain to a certain extent, I think, because they try to keep their staff a little bit smaller. But also, like, it was easier because I was a little bit more personal with the people, and I got to know them a little bit better. So
yeah, that's great. And so internships will vary in terms of the number of hours that you spend. So if you are a student who's with us and planning to complete a degree and go directly out into the workforce, if you're IT or police science or accounting or management, you would be able to enroll in a class with us here and get college credit for your internship, and that requires 144 hours to get 3 credits. Most students are doing 3 credits, and that comes to about 9 or 10 hours a week. If you're a transfer student, we don't actually have a way to earn college credit for an internship, so you would negotiate with your internship site to determine how many hours a week you would be there. Okay? All right, great. So this is an important question for our students, I know. How did you find the time to intern? How did you balance everything?
if you're balancing things now, then you should be able to balance an internship. I think that for me, I looked at it from two perspectives. One was it really was a job, and all of the parameters that go with being in a job, being a good employee, being dressed properly, on time, right stuff, and all of that. And so there's prep work that has to go ahead of time, even if it's just to set your alarm pretty early in the morning. But the other thing is that I tried to treat it like a class. And I think for me, I was always told that, whatever number of credit hours your class is, for you can multiply that by at least 2 or maybe 3 of outside work. So if you have a 3-hour class, then expect to spend 6 to 9 hours a week on that class. And so I kind of looked at it from that standpoint as well. So, and then combine those two together. You don't really want to look at my calendar, but using a calendar was allowing me to keep everything intact. So I knew when I had to be there. And I worked mornings, afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. Whenever the Red Cross needed me, then I was flexible enough that I was able to meet that. So you've got to keep yourself organized. And so using a calendar is how it did it for me.
That's great.
I chose to do mine over the summer when my course load was lighter. And I didn't feel so pushed time-wise. But again, allowing the hours as if I was taking the class. And I coordinated with the ARC as to when I would get the most benefit. I wanted to be there during the times when I would get the most exposure and the most benefit, and work that into the schedule also.
Yeah, that's great.
So I strategically chose my schedule. So I either need to have full mornings free or I need to have full afternoons free. So I have to bunch my classes in a consecutive order so that you can actually get to the internship and spend a few hours there. So working to really choose classes carefully at times that allow you to do an internship helps. And also prioritizing. I don't get a lot of free time. So if the new How to Get Away with Murder or Walking Dead episode comes on, the internship and the academics definitely have to take the priority.
Yeah.
And I took mine over the summer, so I had to move to Hampton for 10 weeks. And luckily I lived right across the street from the thing. And I also got lucky because, moving to another city, I had to suspend my rent at the place where I was living.
So they let you do that? They let you suspend your rent?
Yeah,
so
but only because I know the person that I'm renting from. So
yeah.
that would probably be the biggest hurdle for anyone else, is, if you have to move to somewhere to go do your internship, then, they give me a stipend and everything, so that was helpful. And, I was there all day, every day for, 10 weeks, so I didn't have to focus on anything else, and I didn't have any classes, thankfully. There were a lot of interns who did have classes, and one of them even was driving from Fredericksburg every day, which was crazy. That person was always stressed out. But you find some way to make it work. It's
right.
It can be difficult, but prioritize.
Yeah, sounds great.
So once again, it kind of felt like cheating doing the internship here while I was taking classes here also, because I would just show up in the morning. If I wasn't in class, I was working, and then I would take breaks from work to go to class and then come back. So the juggling for me was quite a bit simpler. I just spent my entire day here, whether I was either in class or tagging along behind somebody learning or documenting something. So
right. Yeah.
That's definitely an advantage to interning here locally at the college, is it allows you less commuting time. You're able to take a class, walk down the hall, go to your job, walk back to a different class, and juggle that way is a lot easier. So
yes. Yeah, that's great.
So before the bakery, I'd been working before. So I ended up having to switch jobs, which I had just started that job. So it was kind of annoying, and I felt really bad for having to leave it so early. I'd only been there for about 2 months. So I ended up starting to work at the bakery because I figured I probably couldn't balance 2 jobs while going to school full-time. And having it be my last semester here and having full-time classes, it was It was just something that I didn't think that I could do, working 2 jobs. And I ended up just kind of separating the 2 entirely, where I would schedule out certain days where I would be working, or I'd schedule out my classes where, well, actually the culinary classes are kind of set in stone, and they only offer one of them. So I kind of based my work schedule around that, and I really talked to the owner, and it worked out really well because the classes that I had to take were on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I ended up working on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which are the times that, you know, they're really busy, so they're going to need an extra person, and it worked out really well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's great. So there's one other question that I know we get from time to time, and that's about, we actually are out of time, so I'm just going to bring this up and answer it myself. But the question is usually about, are there paid internships? And the answer is yes. There are paid internships. There are also internships that are unpaid, but you will build your resume and hopefully get recommendations and that kind of thing. When you pick up, and I want to invite you to pick up a sheet from the table over here. It's a long sheet that has a list of all the internship opportunities on it. It will tell you whether or not the internship is paid or unpaid. Off the top of my head, I can tell you if you're a business student or an engineering student, VDOT has a great internship. I think the pay starts out at like $15 an hour. And so I encourage you to take a look at that. Also, I just want to put a little plug in. There are positions out here. I recently received a job notice about a position at a science lab, an entry-level science lab position. I think the pay was above $10 an hour. I can't remember exactly. It's on our Facebook page. But that kind of position is great because, again, it allows you to be building your resume and getting experience while also getting paid. So it is possible to find those kinds of opportunities. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I just want to take a moment and thank you all, Doug, Linda, Tyler, Mark, Matthew, and Alex, for coming out today and sharing with us your experiences. And if you would just take a moment to share with me a moment of gratitude and applause for our panelists, I'd appreciate it.